for this? He is a historically good passer. He's as good of a passer as there's ever been, and the numbers are proving that. Colin, our staff dug deep. Highest passer rating in the NFL all time. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers 1, Patrick Mahomes 2, Lamar Jackson 3. All time. I don't see Tom Brady on there. I don't see Josh Allen. I don't see Joe Montana.
Again, passer rating.
I'm kidding.
It's something. Russell Wilson's 5th. Tony Romo's up there. It's something. I've been on. I think I've been pretty consistent on this. I thought the questions about Lamar in the pocket were valid for 2 years. I don't think they're valid for the last 3. I think he's a really good pocket quarterback. If Mark Andrews didn't have the worst game he's ever had as a college or a collegiate or a pro, they win a playoff game.
Well, hold on. Just to be clear, Lamar was bad in the first half and dug them a hole, right? He had the, I think, 2 turnovers.
Just to be clear, Patrick Mahomes had 8 bad games last year. Like, if you don't have, I mean, let's be honest. Burrow was better than Mahomes last year. Lamar was better than Mahomes. Allen was better than Mahomes. Like, there was a lot of guys better than Mahomes last year.
Mahomes had Super Bowls, so it's like, who cares? He's got Super Bowls.
And that's what I wanted to really highlight, too. Because that is the part of sports conversation that really drives me crazy. This is one of the rare moments that I saw this clip before. You know, most 99% of the times I don't know. You know, it's just a live reaction for me. But I just kind of had this playing in the background, and because I had already talked about the whole Lamar, passer, had made a video before it, so I was like, I wonder what these guys have to say. And this is the part though that I'm just like, that's my God, I got to turn this into a clip. The fact that Patrick Mahomes has won Super Bowls before is not the answer to excuse or to explain away how Lamar Jackson was a better quarterback last year, but yet didn't get as far. It highlights, because I agree with Colin, like Joe Burrow was a better quarterback, Lamar Jackson was a better quarterback, and yet Mahomes and the Chiefs got further. And what that highlights is how much this is a team sport. And what drives me crazy is, and I made these videos as soon as that playoff game, ended, defending Lamar. It's like, let's be clear here. Lamar Jackson dug him in a hole. There are too many games to even count at this point. Truly, like there's too many games to even remotely count or keep in our minds the times that Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Joe Burrow, Stafford, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen have dug themselves in holes. And that was my whole thesis, my whole argument, my whole take was like, Lamar Jackson was leading the comeback. He was leading the win to be able to be the hero, to be able to be like, I led this team to victory, but his team failed him in that moment. It's true. He could have played better in that first half. That's all true. So it's okay to acknowledge that, but he then played out of his mind and was playing perfect football. But then the players around him weren't there. Whereas with Tom Brady, with Patrick Mahomes, with Stafford, et cetera, in those moments when it was time for those guys to be the hero, the players stepped up. And as Drew Brees highlighted, there's a lot of comeback wins or a lot of big plays that came from the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, but the defense had to make a big stop. And the defense either had a big stop to get the ball back to him, or after a big play from that offense, the Chiefs defense held their ground. And this is what I said even after that playoff game with the Ravens, where I said, even if Andrews catches that ball, and now it's a tie game, it's up to the Ravens defense now to come up with a big stop, a big moment, like we saw Spags do against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Although I didn't have the same level of confidence that the Ravens would have necessarily been able to do that. I mean, I don't really know, obviously, in that moment, and it didn't matter, but it was just like, it's hard to see that they would have stepped up because we saw how that team did not step up in those moments. So it's just like, it's not fair just to lump that on Lamar. We can't say, well, who cares? Patrick Mahomes has Super Bowls. That's irrelevant for this conversation. If we're trying to have a conversation of who's been the best quarterback, who's had the best career, then sure. But that's not the conversation. You can't use that as a means to bring down Lamar or to excuse why Patrick Mahomes hasn't been the best quarterback. Like, that's the part that drives me crazy. Like, that's the part of the argument that, like, we always get tripped up in. And I'm going to make a separate video about, I was going to maybe do it when I saw that they saw this bottom line where I saw, like, okay, they're addressing John Harbaugh saying Lamar Jackson is a historically good passer. I want to make another video because I already made that when First Things First discussed it and whatnot. And Nick listed like all these quarterbacks who he believes that are a better passer than Lamar Jackson. And this is just strictly passing, right? This is just strictly pure passing, nothing else, nothing to do with your legs, right? Like nothing else besides that. And I think it was a really interesting conversation. Of course, people took it however direction that they want to take it in. But I really did want to follow that up with a new video with different highlights, different conversation, and kind of use that first round of takes as a jumping off point and to kind of drill down on it. Because I said something in that video that I don't think got enough attention, honestly, where I said our definition of what a great passer is will ultimately one day have to evolve. And I showed the clip of Sean McVay talking about Stafford and some of the things that he's doing and kind of compared that to some of the stuff that Lamar Jackson does. And I want to kind of show that clip again with Sean McVay, what he's saying, and then combine it with some of the great things that Lamar Jackson does. And then really just have the conversation of like, what matters right now in the modern day NFL? Like, what's actually more important? And, on one side, my mind, when we start to kind of have these conversations, when we get like too zoomed in, on one side, I'm like, it doesn't matter because who's a better quarterback, right? Or, like at the end of the day, it's like, I don't care if you're a great passer or bad, it's like, who's a better quarterback? That matters more. But for the sake of conversation, for the sake of we're all just trying to talk about football as much as we possibly can, I do appreciate when we do back ourselves in corners, when we are like, well, who's better mobile? Who would you rather have from a mobile standpoint? Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes, right? Pure passing, nothing else. Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. Like I do appreciate those conversations, especially a little bit more in the offseason when there's only so much to talk about. But I still do think we have to bring a tremendous amount of nuance to it. And one of the things that I really have learned that people do miss that a lot. They really do miss the nuance. Like it's just stunning and breathtaking. Even in that one video that I made with talking about Lamar Jackson, some of the comments that I got and some of the things that people threw my way. But it's just like it's honestly horrifying and just pretty downright sad, honestly. And it's just pretty surprising that we can't continue to have like nuanced conversations about certain things. Especially when we're ranking various quarterbacks. And the biggest thing that I continue to see is just like anytime we're talking about Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Burrow and where those four quarterbacks are in relation to each other, it's just a fireworks show, man. Like it's just like people just go all in, all out, and it gets intense. It gets intense. And really the first time I really realized that was it was either Joe Burrow versus Lamar Jackson, Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen. I forget when it was in the regular season, when it was first kind of like, who would you rather have? And like First Things First kind of threw that in there. I was like, oh, that's a fun video. I was like, okay, let's have this conversation. And then it was like, whoa, what am I seeing here? I was like, whoa, I did not realize that this is where these conversations go. I was like, I was unaware of this is where it goes. And it was just like, wow. And now it just seems like it pretty much always goes there. But it does always irk me when we're saying, Lamar Jackson was a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes last year. And it's just like, well, Patrick Mahomes has 3 Super Bowls. Who cares? And it's like, well, when we're having honest conversations about what we're seeing in real time, it matters. I mean, it matters. It's just like, when did that stop mattering? Like, when did it stop mattering? Like, someone needs to tell me that. I mean, like, when did it stop mattering? I don't get it. I really don't. I'm trying to think of like what other quarterback like we could say Patrick Mahomes, I guess, right? Patrick Mahomes, when Tom Brady kind of started no longer being Tom Brady, like, they're like, oh, Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback than Tom Brady right now. You could be like, well, who cares? Tom Brady has all those Super Bowls. And it's like, yeah, I guess so. But, like, Patrick Mahomes right now in 2021 or, whatever the heck it was, 2022, like, Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't care how many Super Bowls Tom Brady won at that point. I don't care about the Super Bowl that he won in, like, 2003 and 2004. Like, that doesn't mean anything to me right now. What he won in 2020, that doesn't mean anything to me right now. It means nothing. I don't care. I'm talking about what we see right now. And to constantly use that as your kind of, like, as the argument that you just lay forth, like, it just cuts everything up. And I find it frustrating. I really do, because it's just it stops our ability to have, like, a real conversation about what we're seeing. And so that's why I plan, like I said, to do a little bit deeper of a dive with the statement that Lamar Jackson is a historically good passer, and what does that even mean in 2025? Because I believe at this point it's starting to mean something differently in 2025 than it did in 2020, 2015, certainly 2010 and 2000, and and onward. And I'm a firm believer, and I'll talk about this more, but, like, I'm a firm believer where when I'm having more serious conversations, and the more serious conversations that I have with all of this type of stuff in just the sports talk world as a whole, it's just like, once we start talking about where we are in 25, it's just like, I don't know, man, comparing to what we saw in 2015 and 2010 and what Eli Manning did and what Brett Favre did and what Peyton Manning did, it's just like, football is just so different. And I'm just like, I don't really know how much it matters anymore, and what relevance it holds. Like, I always highlight, like, the rules of football have fundamentally changed. So it's just like even saying something like a historically good passer, it's just like, I don't even know what that statement means anymore, and I don't know how much it even matters anymore. Because and like I said, I'll talk about this a lot more, but I think, and that's why I'm not positive, but I think Nick, when he listed, he said, like, Phillip Rivers is a better passer than Lamar Jackson. And it's just like, let's say that that's true in 2025. Like, even if we take mobility away, at least, like, we take, like, the true electricity of mobility that we mean when we talk about Lamar Jackson, like the ability to, like, literally rush for, like, 150 yards. It's like, even if we just took his mobility in half, his scramble ability in half, it's just like, you would be hard pressed to say, well, I'll take Phillip Rivers over Lamar Jackson. And so it's just like, that's where I kind of say then, like, it's just like, well, then what does this conversation even mean then at the core of it? At least when we have some of these other conversations about the Josh Allens, the Lamars, the Joe Burrows, and the Mahomeses, and how we try to fit them, like, who's having a better year, or what would this quarterback, because everyone's always like, oh, well, Lamar Jackson would have led the Bengals to the playoffs. Joe Burrow would have won the Super Bowl with the Baltimore Ravens in 23. Like, everyone's always kind of just picking and choosing those types of arguments. And it's just like, again, those can be fun and those can be thought-provoking and interesting, but I'm starting to kind of feel like when we start to kind of fit, especially, like, this historical context, I'm just kind of like, I don't know how much relevance it has anymore. At least some of those other conversations that we have, the relevance is of us trying to figure out how great all of these quarterbacks are in real time. And, like, I find that a lot more enjoyable to discuss rather than trying to figure out a historical context of, like, how good would Dan Marino be right now? And it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe really amazing, maybe not amazing at all. Like, I don't know. And it doesn't matter to me. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Lamar Jackson being a historically good passer, as well as who cares that he's been better than Patrick Mahomes over these last couple of years, because Patrick Mahomes has Super Bowls. That is actually more what made me say I'm making this a video, and I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are about that more specifically. And like I said, be on the lookout for a deeper conversation about the whole Lamar Jackson is a historically good passer, which is also a weird way to historically good passer. This is like that's a weird phrasing to me. But let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.